And welcome to another edition of Dynamics Fortnite Fridays.
Where we cover everything Dynamics, great and small. Well, you know what? We're halfway through summer, Bart. If we look at it this way, we are like more than halfway through meteorological summer. So pretty interesting.
Just crazy.
I know, isn't it just flying by? Flying by. So like my avatar is going to have to put on some sunscreen. So that's
I like digital you.
That's my first bad dad joke. You got one for me?
Well, to kind of follow on in the summer theme, I did choose a themed dad joke for today because we are in the height of boating season in the 2 weeks where it's actually warm enough to go boating in Minnesota. And we've actually had quite a bit of heat over the last few days. But anyway, so when you start looking across the pool of boaters in our state, what do you call the craziest 3.14% of them?
This 3.14% of them circle jerks. I don't know.
Pirates. Get it?
Right. Okay. Hybrids. Hybrids.
Pirates.
Pirates. Oh, pirates. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Mine wasn't exactly PG. So, okay. On that note, I have a summer theme joke too, Bart. Okay, if you try to get hired at the sunscreen factory and you get rejected, what do? Come on. You reapply. Okay, yeah. But boom. Our content better be gold this week.
Well, I think we're going to cover it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So first big announcement on the Power Platform is process mining has been a tool that has been in preview for, over a year now. And we finally are going generally available as of next Tuesday, which means supported. And you have to start paying for it. So there's pluses and minuses. Anyway, process mining will be full featured and generally available on Tuesday. And process mining has had several updates made to it. It is definitely updated in terms of the desktop app that does way more sophisticated analysis of all of the things that you sort of load up in the web version. So that'll be pretty interesting, and it's completely branded as Power Automate instead of Mine It in terms of that desktop app and all those kind of things. But we're adding templates all the time, and that'll be another topic that we'll come up with. But being able to take data from your existing systems and just look at those log files and do all sorts of great analysis on those digital processes is amazing. So I'm just going to say, look this over, play with this. And if you see that you have several different types of processes in your organization that you would like to make more efficient and figure out where technology should be applied in order to get the value out of the optimization capabilities that automation can bring, process mining is the way to go catalog all of that stuff. So take a look at process mining. Along with process mining as a generally available product, the licensing we're trying to simplify as well. That we used to have, several different license types that might or might not apply. Well, we're now just going to have a Power Automate premium license that's going to get you unlimited cloud flows, unlimited desktop flows, and process mining all for one SKU. And then we're going to have, instead of the per flow license, it's going to be per process license, and per flow used to really only apply to cloud flows, but now this is going to be used for either a cloud flow that you want to license or an unattended RPA session. So it's going to be expanded in terms of what that is. And then there will also be an additional capacity process mining add-on, because you'll be able to have the processes, and then depending on how often that thing runs, that you will be able to go grab that, and several other things that are a little bit different, but that's sort of the basics. So anyway, process mining, good stuff. For those of you who are more pro dev focused and you're looking to do ALM stuff with our command line interface, there were quite a few new capabilities announced in June. So settings of an environment, that's a pretty big deal. Be able to not only provision an environment, but set its settings all from your command line is a pretty nice update. We can do some extra controls and checks when doing solution imports to make sure that you won't get as many errors if you want to code some things in for some version control and skipping lower versions and those kind of things. AI builder models are now part of the CLI. And service principal creation, while it's been there, we've simplified it and made it a little bit more streamlined and given several other capabilities into it that I'm not really going to dive into. But for those of you who are using the command line interface, make sure and read this thoroughly because there have been a lot of really nice updates made. Also, for the pro coders, if you are working with Power Pages, you've been aware for quite some time that we had a Visual Studio Code editor to allow you to manipulate certain things about Power Pages sites directly in Visual Studio Code. Well, we have now made an update to the Visual Studio Code capabilities that will now let you edit all aspects of the site. You can do all the HTML. You can update your forms. You can update your lists, your content snippets, all sorts of stuff. Your CSS, your media, all of that can all be edited now from an IDE, which will make it a lot more like just traditional web development, just to get all the shortcuts that are built into Power Pages to take advantage of. So again, if you are a pro coder working on Power Pages, please take advantage of all those new updates. Power Automate Desktop. For all of those people doing robotic process automation, we made quite a few updates in July. So we added the Outlook connector and a whole bunch of different actions that you can do right from Power Automate Desktop now. So following on our SharePoint capabilities and OneDrive capabilities that got added, now Outlook is in there. In the scripting area, we can now let you run .NET C# code directly in the process. So coders rejoice, you can do some really cool things in code now right in the process flow of your automation. And in trying to make sure that you are able to take advantage of work queues to make these more efficient as you're doing unattended RPA, we've now got a new action called add a work queue item into a queue. That should make that work a lot quicker. And for those of you who are trying to do web automations, a new way to inspect all those UI elements in the designer. I guess this doesn't have to be just web, that this can let you inspect basically all aspects of your UI elements to try to make sure that you are hooking into the right place of the UI in order for your automation to work properly is a really helpful thing, and ways to inspect that much more detailed to get at all the granular things is now there. Along with a troubleshooter. Who doesn't love a good troubleshooter? If you're running into problems, having it both verbose log and give you some suggestions of what might be causing your problems is fantastic. So lots of good stuff in Power Automate Desktop. Along with going full code first on a Power Page, we also made improvements to the Power Page Studio in the web design platform to allow co-editing to happen. And I kind of stretched it just a little bit. It's not quite full co-editing, although it really is. But the main thing that has changed is now when you are editing with more than one person on the same Power Page site at the same time, you see the co-presence while people are doing it. So you know exactly who is in there. And to collaborate, I mean, we've had a few capabilities in there, but what this is highlighting is you can just click on somebody's bubble and start a Teams chat with that person without having to leave the design studio, or start an email message to them through Outlook if you want to, right, without having to leave the design studio, to try to say, hey, I see you're doing something that I was getting ready to work on, and I've got changes I need to make too. Or tell me when you're finished, whatever you might need to do to collaborate better while both working on the same site. So not 100% complete co-editing, but at least understanding where people are and what they're doing is a big step forward. And then the last one is really just a new template that came out on process mining. It just made my announcement list today, although this says it was posted a couple days ago, so I'm not sure why my feed didn't pick it up until today. But anyway, in process mining, if you are running a warehouse, pretty much of any kind, you can ingest data, but especially if you're using the warehouse management module in F&O, that we've got ways to collect data right from the supply chain management warehouse module to look at all of the data flowing through the system about how your warehouse is operating and figuring out where your bottlenecks are and how to make your warehouse management a lot more efficient. So great new addition to the templates out there in process mining as we're going generally available, trying to make sure we add more value. All right, so that's it for Power Platform updates. For customer engagement capabilities, there are two big announcements that came out, and they're both in this same blog article. So I'm going to spend all my time on this article, and the other one is really just blowing out part of what I'm going to talk about a little bit more thoroughly. The first one that does get a slightly larger blowout in the other article is we have now updated Viva Sales, and Viva Sales is no more, that it has evolved into Dynamics 365 Copilot. And as we have increased the capability here, the Dynamics 365 Copilot will allow you in the sales side to do a lot more things right in the sales app, in the sales hub, while working in the sales module. That there will be now a Copilot that just helps you write emails in that module. It helps you summarize opportunities while in that module. It does all kinds of interesting things for preparing for meetings in the module or in Outlook or in Teams, depending on where it is that you are at the moment when you're trying to get prepared to join a meeting that's a Teams meeting. And then when you're in a Teams meeting, we're also enhancing the tips and data collection, which used to happen. It just didn't really give you the tips in real time. It was kind of a meeting summary after the meeting was over that it did its analysis and then kind of captured the notes and gave you tips. Well, we're turning this much more real time during those meetings to allow you to kind of have it prompt you to, ask questions or capture data or clarify or whatever else. So lots of good stuff in the sales area with Copilot capabilities. Now, the other thing that got announced that is pretty exciting is Customer Insights, our CDP of old, and Dynamics Marketing were fairly tightly coupled because the CDP was really there as a marketing tool. It had other benefits, but it was really a marketer's dream to get all that customer data to build the right segments of your audience, to have the right message go to them, and all those kind of things. Well, what we have decided to do is combine those into one offering from a sales perspective. And as we're doing that, it's all going to be called Dynamics Customer Insights or Dynamics 365 Customer Insights. But there's going to be two versions of Customer Insights now. There's going to be Dynamics 365 Customer Insights Journeys, which used to be called Marketing, and that'll be how you orchestrate the customer journeys to have the right message go to them at the right time and all those kind of things. And that will be all based on the Dynamics real-time marketing engine. That's where the tight integration is. And then there's the traditional customer insights data capabilities. That's kind of what people were used to with the legacy customer insights functionality of taking all this data and making the great profiles that you can use with, they're all enriched with data to do all that kind of cool stuff. Well, we also, on the journey side of that, have brought some new capabilities in there, or at least that are coming really soon. So we're going to be able to use natural language to build orchestrations, and we're going to be able to style forms and registration pages and all those kind of things just by pointing at an existing web page on your existing corporate site that's already got the right CSS to it and say, make it look like that, and let it just take over and do all the right styling for whatever it is that you're creating, whether it's a web page or outbound email or whatever else that is branded properly, without you having to go code it all up. So I think those are some really nice enhancements that are really coming out. So that's the big things. There is a new capability that is also just announced for those of you who still run on-premises versions of any of these things. Of course, Customer Insights itself never had an on-prem version, but if you're still running Dynamics 365, whether it's the F&O or the Business Central predecessors or even CRM on premises, and you need to get to the cloud, this new program called AIM is a whole bunch of helpers, both from what we're giving partners and giving you for accelerators and the people we are throwing at this to give you all the tools you need to get to the cloud so you can start realizing a lot of these AI capabilities and copilots a lot quicker. So that's really my update. If you want to learn even more about the Sales Copilot capabilities, we blow it out more on this other thing, but I don't need to really open it and talk to it. I already talked to the important things, and I think I'm ready to turn it over to you, Dan, to go through all the other cool stuff we've got.
Sounds good, Bart. Just give me a second and I will get my screen up. Yeah, my avatar needs some work, it looks like.
Oh, I can tell it's you.
Okay, good. Close enough. Close enough. So yeah, I don't have a ton of content this week again. So I'm expecting when we start getting into the October release, we're going to have to like split some of the content up into a couple of shows, but kind of summer break time.
Yeah.
So the first thing is there's a couple of July updates for Business Central. And where are we here? A couple updates here. So first of all, this is kind of important for anybody that's doing workflow. So there's a change modification limits for triggering flows and bulk updates. So what that really means is like there was a limit of like 100 rows for Power Automate flows to go through the Dataverse virtual tables, right? So if it's like a change of 100 like line items in the sales orders, it would stop if it hits 100. Well, I work with customers that sometimes have hundreds and hundreds of different line items on something like that, or a purchase order. Well, they've changed that. So now they're allowing 1,000 lines or 1,000 rows for those tables. So, for more advanced criteria. Now, if you need more than that, and if you're doing like huge transaction sets, Business Central probably isn't the right product. You probably want to think about finance and supply chain. But anyways, that's a change within that. So it's like, so for IT, just be aware that if those flows weren't working before, update and then rerun them again. The second thing is
pagination updates, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So support business events and Business Central connector for Power Automate. So I've talked a little bit about this before, but there's some detail on this. So with this release, we have business events that'll kick off from Business Central. And remember, a business event is some action that may take place. If you have a new sales order that's over $5,000, kick off something. If you actually send it out for delivery, send an email out to your customer, something like that. Now, those can be internal, but most often they're an external trigger that goes off of that. And so what happens on this is like immediately actually triggers that. So once it's shipped or once it's picked, send our customer an email to know that their delivery's on the way, right? And so it can work within any specific company or any environment. It can do not only like a Power App triggers, but it also does Azure Logic apps. So if you need to trigger something off a Logic Power, like a blockchain component or a cognitive services or an IoT function, all of this is connected into that. So it's a little more detail on that. And again, I find these super powerful. In fact, I had a couple meetings that you were involved with, Max, who was our moderator here, that we talked a lot about these business events in a different context. So that's the first thing that I kind of wanted to go over. The second thing is another business or Business Central component. Now this is a co-pilot for Business Central, and it's for bank rec. And for those of you who may not know what a bank reconciliation is, it's like, so we're working with the bank for the cash inflow and outflow. So it's like a customer may automatically digitally transfer, electronically transfer some funds into that for a payable or for a receivable, or you might pay against a payable, something that you may have purchased. Now, so you can imagine some of these larger companies, there are thousands of different transactions. So what the systems do is they'll go and match these. So it's like if we have a perfect match, this dollar amount and what this vendor is or what this customer is, they match that out and say, okay, we can check that off. Anything that doesn't match is kind of fuzzy. Is left up to somebody to manually go through. And you can imagine going through like each different line item and matching them against a payable or receivable is probably not the most fun job in the world. It's fairly meticulous and strains your eyes, and it can be, I'd assume that there's a lot of tedium in it. I haven't done anything like that, only in the classroom setting in college with some accounting classes. But what this does is it has advanced AI powered for matching. It's like, so is this near this match? Within what probability or percentage that is going to fit that? So not only does the transaction matching, which makes it much more valuable and a higher percentage hit on that, but it'll also give AI generated explanations of why this is matching out. So if you actually need to review it, that the bookkeeper can see that, or the auditor can see that, of why that's matching. So again, the hit rate of those matches are much higher in this Copilot. And for all those AR, AP controller types out there in accounting, using BC, this is a fantastic feature. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is just some components in finance and supply chain. And I always like to talk about the learn, because if you're probably watching this, you're probably a lifelong learner anyways, and you're always like learning something new. But here's some really good documentation on the cloud deployment. Now, there's been some documentation before on this, but actually this puts it together very well. And I really like how it's put up. So it kind of talks about, okay, what's the life cycle of putting this up in LCS? It's like, okay, you have your different environments, so you need to evaluate, you have to do your customizations, you have to curate something that is golden without any transaction sets, you install it, test it. So it kind of goes a step by step, and which is really nice for the people that are brand new to the cloud, that maybe gone from an AX 2012 or AX 2009 environment, to kind of spell that out. So it kind of goes through that, goes to the licensing, talks about the environments, the tier 2 sandboxes, but also kind of explains what each one of these are needed for, right? Evaluation, these are demo, these are tier 1, actually tier 2 environments now. Customized in a tier 2 or a desktop, hosted, VHD environment. And then the golden configuration, like I said, it's like those are the configurations without any of the data. And then when he actually makes things work, it goes to UAT testing, then eventually goes to production. So these are the different components. And if you're a developer, you may need multiple of these and put them together with these environments. So it talks about these environments, the life cycle. And then when you go into life cycle management, you'll see that you can apply, enable, move, upgrade, deallocate, and exactly some more details of what each of these functions do. Security compliance, excuse me. And what's managed by Microsoft, what we do for the updates, and if we see up here, what it has to be managed by you. So it's like this is managed by the customer. You apply all those patches and components, right? So if you want to run like a pre-release and stuff, but the production and the UAT is managed by Microsoft with all the patches on this. So I just thought this was some really good documentation that kind of goes through and spells it out really nicely. And it also tells you what you can and cannot do, like Windows remoting and what you can't do, and then high availability and how that works, and the HA and the DR on that with the disaster recovery. So anyways, I just thought that would be just good for my users to kind of review again, or if you haven't done it, it's like read it for the first time. And then, of course, I always talk about the release schedule, what's coming up. So with the 10.0.35 update, which we're all anticipating, you can get the pre-release on that, and that has all the co-pilots. So, but look at that and when they're actually coming out. So that the 35 is coming in August. They're going to be pushed to. You can actually do the pre-releases right now as is. And the last thing, and again, I told you this is going to be short, Bart, but the tech talks. These are really nice videos. Some more stuff would come out, like like the field service, the drive. But this one I thought was caught my eye, was the demand replenishment for raw materials picking for some warehousing. And there's also procure to pay that's coming up. Is coming soon here. So going to the light, watch some videos. I always think this is a good way to, I often watch a football game in the fall or in the evening and just kind of turn something on and just kind of learn a little bit. And it's kind of helpful just to kind of, brush up on some of the functionality on that. So light content this week, Bart. Again, it's summer, so hopefully everybody else is enjoying that summer. But that's all I got for you folks today.
It's you being a learn-it-all. I love it.
So, lifelong learner. I think it's been a positive thing, and it's something I've harped to my kids.
You bet.
For years and years and years.
It's important.
Paying off. Yeah.
And just so you got a compliment on your avatar and your joke selection, because they kind of went together today from our audience members. That
wow,
that they were thinking that you might have to reapply some of that sunscreen to your avatar's forehead.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I love it.
All right, we appreciate that. So,
well, I've only got one. I'll comment, I guess, just on one other quick thing. In my solutions update, there are quite a few different solutions out there, as always, that have been updated. But if you run Omnichannel, there's an Omnichannel update. If you run our marketing, soon to be called Customer Insights Journeys, there was an update for it. If you run field service, update for it. Sales, update for it. Lots of updates. Even the pipelines capabilities for doing ALM in Power Platform had an update. So take a little bit of time and look through some of those if you are using those, and at least test them out in your non-production environments and see if there is anything that you wanted to bring forward. And then the last thing, I'm really glad, because this is meant to be an operational show, that we didn't dive deep in the kind of H2 release wave planning that was published since our last show. I did put a link to it down in the featured content, and I do recommend our customers pay attention to it, but we will be updating you as those features actually go live, so you can start taking advantage of them, whether they're in preview or GA, and we'll kind of update you on both of those aspects as we go. But take a peek at what's planned in the next 6 months, and it's always helpful stuff. With that, I don't have anything else. You, Dan?
Nope. Everybody enjoy their weekend, and see you in a fortnight.
Sounds great. Bye, everybody.